Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are more or less on the last session of our Gita Wisdom course. So let's begin with it. The last session, in the sense, the last topic, we have been discussing it since last week. We had discussion on the last weekends. And in that, the last topic, that is karma, is remaining, which we'll be discussing today. So let's begin with the prayers, and then we'll get into the session. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Vena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatade Shatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Everyone together, please. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, we have been discussing the topics from the course called as Gita Wisdom, which is based on the 5 subject matters of Bhagavad Gita, starting with Ishvara, Jiva, Kala, Karma, and Prakrti. And we had at least 5 topics discussing about these different 5 subject matters, beginning with the very first topic, does God exist? Second, how do we gain knowledge about God? We saw in the Does God Exist session that we can gain knowledge about God from scriptures. So obvious question comes, is our Vedas mythology or their scientific knowledge? And after establishing this, then we went on to the third topic, who am I? Is reincarnation a reality or a myth? That was the third topic. So in these 3 topics, we kind of, I would not say, let's talk about one more topic, and that is one God or many gods. Why there are so many different religions, and within Hindu tradition, why there are 33 crore devatas, is there one supreme Lord, and why there are so many differences and so forth. So in these 4 initial topics, we have covered the first 2 subjects, Ishvara and Jiva. And after talking about these 4 topics, we came on to the 5th topic of our Gita Wisdom course, that is, why do bad things happen to good people? And this is the 3rd session of this topic. On the very first session, and effectively on the first 2 sessions, we spoke about the material world, which is the 3rd subject matter of Bhagavad Gita, material world or Prakrti. And the 4th subject matter is Kala. So in the previous 2 sessions of this particular topic, we have discussed, or we have elaborately discussed, Prakrti and Kala. And today we'll be discussing the last topic and the last subject matter of Bhagavad Gita among the 5 subject matters, that is law of karma. And now if you try to understand the concept of karma with a background of understanding the first 4 subjects of Bhagavad Gita, you will be able to understand and appreciate it. So as we saw in the previous session on this topic of why do bad things happen to good people, we saw how scriptures or even Bhagavad Gita actually compares the material world to a prison house. Now, some of you, when you would have attended this session, when you had heard like this, it might have a little bit pinched you. You know, as I say, truth is not always palatable. To realize that I'm in a prison house, which means I have done some mistake because of which I'm in this prison house. I'm a prisoner. It's actually a little terrifying. It's a little a frightening fact. So we saw that how Krishna says Dukhalaya Mashashvatam, and how this Prakrti or this material world is compared to a prison house, because there is a punishment given in the form of birth, death, old age, and disease, and the three kleshas, Adhyatmika, Adhibhavika, Adhidaivika klesha. This is just a recap. So, we are not going into details of it. And we are supposed to be purified, reformed of these anarthas. And when a prisoner comes, or when a living entity comes to this world, like a prisoner goes to the prison house, his dress is changed. Similarly, when a living entity comes to this world, a material creation, he is given from 8.4 million different dresses to choose from. And finally, a prisoner is put behind the prison bars. Similarly, all the living entities in this world are tied up by the three chains of modes of material nature: Sattva gun, Rajagun, Tamagun. So like this is a big subject matter of Bhagavad Gita. We had more or less taken 1.5 sessions to discuss this in the previous weekend. In case if you find that prison house is a little too painful for me to really acknowledge and accept it, let's rephrase the analogy and let's put it differently. Rather than if you think you're getting a little too disturbed by considering this material world to be a prison house, so well, there's another analogy given for this regard, where the material world is compared to a hospital, where we all are patients suffering from the 6 diseases: Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Madmasarya. And nobody, regardless of their religion, regardless of their faith, regardless of their gender, regardless of their age, nationality, can deny that they don't have, if not all the 6, they don't have any of the 6 diseases or the viruses. So we are in this world, if not prison house, take it as a hospital, where we all are patients suffering from 6 viruses. Fortunately, not with the COVID virus. COVID virus is still not as dangerous as the 6 viruses, because the 6 viruses continue on with us life after life. COVID virus, unfortunately, many people have died, but when they accept a body next life, they will not have a COVID virus. But these viruses are far much more dangerous. And the modern science, the field of medicine, or the technology have no vaccine for the 6 viruses. The vaccine is only given in scriptures. So how are we treated with the 6 viruses? The scripture says, in Kali Yuga, the means to purify or to rectify ourselves from the 6 viruses is through the process of chanting Mahamantra. That is, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. There are 4 ages: Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali Yuga. And in different ages, there are different processes of, purifying from these viruses. In Satya Yuga, the process of Ashtanga Yoga, meditation. Treta Yuga is a yuga where you perform sacrifices. Dwapar Yuga is elaborate deity worship. And Kali Yuga, the process of chanting Mahamantra. So according to age, we follow the solution and then we get rectified from these viruses. So this is in a nutshell about Prakrti, material world, which we have discussed in the previous sessions. And also in the previous session, we talked about the 4th subject matter of Bhagavad Gita, that is Kala. Kala, Krishna says, Kalosmi, I am the time. And if you remember seeing Mahabharata, at every beginning of the session of Mahabharata, the chakra used to come. And there would be a sound, Main Kal hu, And what was the meaning of it? Which means I am the cause of creation, maintenance, and destruction. Like all of us at certain point of time, in this creation, we all appeared in this particular body. And we have been maintained, or we are maintaining ourselves. And at a certain point of time in the future, we'll have to give up this body, which means destruction. And this all happens under the influence of Kala. Now, because I feel today's topic is very relevant, and I'll be a little bit connecting with the current crisis situation which is there in the world, what is called as a COVID virus. Now, everyone, I hope everyone, is actually wants to, are hoping for this pandemic to end, or epidemic to end. More than 3 lakh people, if I'm correct, have died because of it. And I believe 40 lakh people have been infected by this virus. And there is no stopping to this virus. People every day, hundreds and hundreds of people are dying all around the world. So everyone probably, hopefully, would be hoping for that this epidemic should end. Now, who can actually decide when this epidemic would end? Is there anyone? The scientists, the best of the medical professionals, they're working hard day and night to find a vaccine. Still, we don't have a vaccine. Okay, someday in future they'll be able to find a vaccine, fine. But my point is, can anyone claim that today or maybe 2 months from now, I would have the vaccine? Think about it. If you have ever worked in the field of research, or let's say even if you're an IT programmer, most of the things, most of the codes that we do, right, or most of the testing that we do is not the way how we think it happens. Something we type here and there and suddenly things get fixed up. And look at all the inventions in the past. It just happens. The person was trying again and he got a result. In other words, what we call as a fluke or an accident. Accidentally, he got the result. Now, what will happen, whoever would be able to discover the first medicine for COVID virus, although if you go and ask him, how much did you actually plan it to happen like this? He would not have an answer because he would have done many hit and trials for that particular virus against which whatever the antidote works. However, at the end of the day, the whole world would give the credit to that scientist for inventing the medicine. Now, my question, simple question to all of you is, does he really deserve a credit? Of course, he deserves a credit because he's able to find something. But was he really responsible? One person, there are hundreds and thousands of doctors and scientists are trying to find a vaccine. Among them, one is able to find, rest all are not able to find. That does not necessarily mean this one is a super intelligent person and others are fooled. So why one person is able to find, not others? Who is responsible for it? Just like you go to a hospital and the director of the hospital may very proudly say, I am the savior of the lives of everyone. But is he really the savior? Because in that hospital, or in any hospital for that reason, patients always die. It's not that all the patients who go to the hospital, they're secured or they're saved. Some patients die, if not all. Then if he thinks, if the director or if any doctor thinks that I am responsible for saving the life, then that director or the doctor should also be considered responsible for the death of the patient under his care. Are you able to see the irony or the dichotomy? When things happen good, it is I. When things doesn't happen good, God knows who is responsible. So my point here is, when things doesn't go good in our life, is God responsible for our happiness or distress? Or let's say, is God responsible for our suffering? Those who are atheist or those who are theist, when things doesn't go in their life as they want, more or less they point their finger at someone else, or they point a finger at God for that reason. So in the time of this crisis of COVID virus, there are many preachers, those who believe in hell and heaven concept, those who believe that there is only one life. If you accept their God, who they claim to be a God, you go to heaven, or else you go to hell. So they say that this whole COVID virus is a punishment of the God because the people are not accepting God, because they're not accepting the authority of Lord. That's the reason all these problems are happening. Because we have denied to accept my Lord, which in my religion is believed to be the Supreme Lord, because of which everyone is suffering. And you can see across the religion, everyone is saying, because you have not accepted my God, that's the reason everyone is suffering. So what is the fact? Is Lord really responsible for what is happening around in the world today? Yes, no. Let's take a look. Our scriptures define Lord in two roles. First, role number one, as a loving father. I'll be quoting Mahabharata just because I'm getting into the mood of Mahabharata, because the next course that will start is Mahabharata and its controversies. So I'll be a little bit touching upon the Mahabharata stories in this session today. A very beautiful photo here. What you see here is on the battlefield, Arjuna has humbled himself in front of Lord Shri Krishna and he says, Shishyastiham sadimam tvam prapannam. My dear Krishna, I surrender to you. Please guide me. Here, role of loving father. So Krishna, earlier, who was acting on a role of a friend, takes a role of a guru where he begins to guide Arjuna, begins to give instructions to Arjuna how to rise above the confusion or bewilderment he's there. In other words, Lord or Krishna as a loving father to save us, to give us directions, to educate us, appears in this world in different incarnations. Sometimes he comes in the form of Lord Ram, sometimes Nrsimhadev, Vamana Avatara, and different incarnations. If not, then Lord himself gives us the knowledge like Bhagavad Gita, like Srimad Bhagavatam, the Vedic scriptures. And not only this, Lord also sends his chosen representatives, the acharyas of paramparas like Ramanujacharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Madhvacharya, Nimbarkacharya, and many other great personalities who Lord himself personally sends to educate the people at large about the devotion to God, about the science of the self. So Lord, as a loving Father, tries to guide us, help us in the best possible way. But there would always be some people who would not want to follow, would always want to do what they want to do and create problem in the society. And for such people, Lord or Krishna accepts the secondary role. So primary role of Krishna is of a supreme loving father. I guess to you all I had said this point before. अगर आप कभी भी किसी भी मंदिर में जाएंगे, any of ISKCON temple or any of the Hindu temple where you see the deity of Lord Shri Krishna, that's the only deity of Krishna or the Lord Krishna. You will see him always smiling, holding a flute. No weapons, nothing. And that is what the Lord as a loving father role is. The second role that the Lord takes is of a judge. As I said, there will always be a people with a criminal mind who will not want to follow the laws of the Lord and create chaos and confusion. Now you may think, why should I follow the laws of the Lord? I don't want to follow. And I would be happy and I will not cause harm to others. Well, that is not possible. For example, I'll give you one experience. In India, we drive in an opposite direction as compared to in America. Or I'll put it the other way around. In America, we drive in an opposite direction to as we drive in India. Here in India, it's a right gear, I believe, the right drive. If I'm correct, yeah, you drive in a right drive. In America, it's a left drive. So the directions of the lanes interchanges. So one of the student here who studied here and came for a job in America, he had recently, it was his uncle's vehicle and he had an international driving license. Although his uncle had warned him, please do not take the vehicle without my permission and without any one of us traveling with you because the rules here are different. And this friend of mine, he went on the road. So when he was driving, he was very careful towards the onward journey. And he went to some shopping mall, parked the car properly. However, in the excitement of shopping and what he had purchased, he forgot that he's in America, there's a different laws. When he drove his car out of the shopping mall, he drove the car in an opposite lane. That too in America where the laws are so strict. And he saw suddenly why people are driving in my lane. And then he realized, oh, this is not India, this is America, and I'm driving in an opposite lane. So here, he did not follow the laws of that particular land. Did he not risk the lives of everyone else? Yes or no? And that's a point. Somebody says that I will not follow the laws of the Lord or the laws of the land and I will not cause harm to anyone. It's just not possible. And that's the reason Lord has to take a secondary role, that is of a judge. As you can see in the photo here, Krishna is indicating to Arjuna. Krishna is indicating to Arjuna, shoot. And to whom is he telling to shoot? Karna. And Arjuna said, my dear Lord, Karna doesn't have weapon in his hand. He's right now, he's defenseless right now. According to the rules of Kshatriya, I cannot engage in war with him. And this would be against the law, of course. And Krishna said, what are you talking about dharma? And to whom are you talking about dharma? Karna, who never followed dharma, he is the one because of whom Draupadi was insulted. He is the one who was responsible for the death of Abhimanyu and so many other sinful activities that he did. Where was his dharma then? No, he deserves to die. And this is your opportunity to get rid of him. And Krishna, like that, indicated to Arjuna to shoot an arrow. And this is a role where Lord takes the role of a judge. To help you understand, let's give a common example. Let's say two criminals are given a sentence by a judge. One criminal did a stealing, another criminal did a murder. Do you expect the judgment should be different or the judgment should be same for both the criminals? Yes or no? Once again, I'll repeat. One criminal did a stealing somewhere in the shop, and other criminal have done a murder. Does both the criminals deserve a similar punishment or a judgment, or do they differ at different judgments? Yes or no? Of course, they differ. They receive a different judgment. If a judge gives a different judgment, so the criminal who has got a more punishment, and if he blames the judgment to be, if he blames the judge to be partial, does it mean the judge is partial? Or judge is impartial? Judge is giving the punishment according to the activity performed by that individual. So judge cannot be called as partial. Similarly, Krishna, in the role of a judge, he awards punishments according to the activities performed by the Jivatma. And thus to blame Lord to be partial, because to someone he allowed to take birth in a rich family and to another person he allowed to take birth in a poor family, it means Lord is partial, is foolishness. Why? Because Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, 29th verse, that I am impartial. Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dvesh asti na priya ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya maititeshu chapiham. And Krishna says, I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I'm also a friend to him. You know, it's not that Lord Shri Krishna, despite of the sinful activities of the Kauravas, particularly Duryodhana and Karna, Lord did not give them second chance. Lord personally went as a messenger or a peace messenger or a peace broker to Hastinapur to just, Duryodhana, to advise Duryodhana to avert the war, which would result in the death of so many people. Yet Duryodhana was not willing. Many people blame Lord Krishna to be responsible for the war of Kurukshetra. Why? Because Arjuna decided to walk away. And if Krishna would not have interjected or interfered in the decision of Arjuna, the war would not have happened, because Pandavas could not have been in the war without Arjuna. And Yudhishthira Maharaj would have again gone to the forest, and the lives of 60 crore plus people would have been saved. This is ignorance. We'll speak about this controversies when we begin to talk about Mahabharata, but it is not like that. Lord gave chances. Even Lord spoke to Karna, told him, Karna, you are the son of Kunti, you are the elder brother of Yudhishthira Maharaj, and if Yudhishthira Maharaj wins the war, he would happily make you the king of the whole world. But Karna still said, no, I will not do it. My dear friend, Duryodhana is so dear to me that I'm willing to lay out my life for him. Was really Karna meant like that? Again, we'll discuss that in the Mahabharata session. But the point is, Lord gave second chances, cannot be blamed. Even in Ramayana, Lord Ram told to Sugriva and Hanuman, everyone, when Vibhishan had come, and they all were debating, should Vibhishan be allowed or not? That time Lord Ram said, even if Ravana has to come now and say, I take your shelter, please forgive me, I'm willing to put faith in him, trust him, and I will forgive all his mistakes. What was the mistake of Ravana? He had kidnapped Sita. So like Lord is always impartial. But the point is, we Jivatmas do not want to take his guidance, always challenge him, challenge the laws by him, and because of that, cause chaos in the society. And Lord, as a loving Father, cannot allow, and that's the reason he has created certain laws according to which we are given punishment or we are given awards. And that law is called as law of karma. Now, what is law of karma? In a very simple language. Let's imagine if you sow a seed of a neem tree, and then you expect that neem tree should give you a juicy, sweet fruit. Are you not acting as an ignorant person? Isn't that a foolishness? You sow a seed of a neem tree, And then you ask that the fruits of the neem tree should be sweet. How is it possible? The neem tree does not give a fruit like that. So as you sow, so shall you reap. Imagine you decide to fly in a plane, and halfway of the plane, when it's up in the sky, you decide, oh, I don't want to be in the plane. I want to get out of this plane. I'm going to open the door and jump out. Does it make sense? You chose to sit in the plane, and when the plane has already taken off, you have no other option but to sit patiently and deal with it. So the point is, we don't have a freedom to choose situations and circumstances around us, but we do have a freedom to choose our response. How do we act? Now we have sowed a neem tree, we have sowed a seed of a neem tree, and we got a neem tree. So rather than complaining or being confused about, I wanted a juicy fruit and I got a sour fruit, accept what you have got and make a best use of that bargain. Neem tree has its own medicinal value. Use it for that purpose. Don't waste your time complaining about it, because you don't know what you have done in the past. And because of that, you can never understand what situations and circumstances you are getting in your life. But once you understand the law of karma, it will help you to harmonize your life with the reality. The reality that you're facing, once you understand the law of karma, you understand this reality around me is created because of my own past actions. So rather than complaining, rather than being confused about what is happening around me, let's find a solution. Let's find a way how I can live with it and how I can make the best use of it. Similarly, somebody is stuck in a plane and he wants to leave the plane. He cannot because it's up in the sky. So rather than complaining and crying about it, let's try to make friends. If not, let's go into the prayerful mood. There's so many things that we could do. So what freedom we have is to choose how we respond. We don't have a freedom to decide what situations and circumstances that comes around us. So this law of karma is very fine, very refined. In other words, a criminal may cheat the local authorities. He can deceive the local laws, but the law of karma or the higher authorities can never be deceived. And thus, we don't know because of what past activities we are here in this condition today, facing facing whatever situation, circumstances. Similarly, let's get into the COVID virus situation. According to law of karma, there are certain actions in the past because of which we are facing the reaction of this COVID virus. And now the question comes, why? Because of someone's action, if there is someone's action, everyone is facing. Or is everyone had done something because of which everyone is facing this reaction? Or else, not everyone is facing. The world's population is more than 7 billion, yet only 40 lakh people have got infected. So why only certain people have got affected? And within that several people, only few have died. So all those kind of questions we'll try to clarify with this law of karma concept. Before we get into those questions, let's look our world around and try to see why we are put into different situations and circumstances. And there's only one answer, and that is law of karma, because of our past activities. None of us have chosen our parents. None of us chose our nationality, the place of birth. And of course, you can change nationality later on. What I meant to say is, to the land you're born, you have no freedom to it. Neither the gender. How does it all happen? Somebody is born to rich parents, somebody is born to poor. Somebody is born strong, somebody is born weak. Is not in our control at the moment. Accept it. This is what is supposed to be, and I have to live with it because of my past activities. Some are born beautiful, some are born ugly. So law of karma may not be visible to your eyes, but with symptoms, with the variations, with differences around the world, we can understand the law of karma is in action. Some love to eat a lot. Some want to eat, but they don't have enough to eat, and they starve to death. Some get the best of the education, while some don't even have the basic needs. They don't even have 3 times meals for themselves. Some are born very fair, some are born very dark. It's not in any of our control. Whatever we have sowed in the past, if we have sowed a seed of a neem tree, that is what the fruit you will get, not a fruit of a mango tree. Some stay in mansions, some stay in small huts, some are born to rich parents, some are born to poor parents. Is God responsible? Partial? Is God cruel? So, because in certain religions, uh, again, the religions which believe only in heaven and hell, you accept my God, you go to heaven, or else you're doomed to hell forever. According to them, there is no law of karma. We are not responsible for anything. We are only responsible for one thing: accept the God or go to hell. So, according to them, God is like a taskmaster. For them, God is never a loving father. For them, God is always a judge who judges you based on if you accept him or not. Is it really like that? What about the Lord being a loving father, which means you can never have a relationship with the Lord? And that's the reason in certain religions, the concept of the God or the faith in God is based and limited only to fear, the fear factor. So God is compared to a judge. I've already explained to you second role of a God and how he acts as a judge. He knows everything. How? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya chaham hiti sannivishto mathasmriti jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarverahameva vetyo vedanta krit veda ved eva chaham. ये भगवद गीता का 15वां अध्याय का 15वां श्लोक है जहां पे भगवान श्री कृष्ण कहते हैं I am seated in the heart of every living entity. I am the witness, I am the observer. I know what every single thing you desire, you think of in your actions, and nothing is hidden from me. Thus, God is compared to a judge, and we have discussed about this analogies. Some, to one criminal, to one, to somebody, a lesser punishment is given, to another person, more punishment is given. That does not mean the Lord is partial. He is impartial. We have already explained this concept, so I'm just moving ahead. So judge gives different judgments according to the activities and also the laws of the land. So with that as a background, what is the definition of law of karma? The technical definition we'll see, and then I'll give you a simple definition. So Bhagavad Gita states, the activities performed by the living entity conditioned by three modes. Three modes की हम चर्चा कर चुके हैं. Under the control and purview of time are called karma. I hope now you understand why we did not discuss this subject matter, which is the most relevant to everyone, particularly in today's time, as a first session. Because to understand karma, we need to understand first the material nature and the kala. And to understand material nature, we have to first of all establish Ishwar, who is the creator of this creation, and also establish who we are. That's the reason we waited all this while to talk about karma. In other words, in a simple language, which means the soul which is covered by a material body and being dictated by sattva, raja, and tamaguna and being controlled by time, our birth to death, none of those in our control, controlled by time, is performing activity. And the kind of activities we perform, those activities, every activity gives us a result. And that is a law of karma. So law of karma teaches us that what actions we perform are extremely crucial. And the same concept was lifted off by Isaac Newton in his third law of, what they call his third law, thermodynamics, the third law of Newton's, they call it, I believe. But he said, for every action, there is an equal and an opposite reaction. A small video just to show you this third law of Newton or the law of karma. He's the man who took the bottle. And just a small short video, just to show you, as you sow, so shall you reap, like that. So that's the definition of law of karma. An example that I gave you at the beginning of sowing a seed of a neem tree. So this law of karma is very, very intricate. So please pay attention. Try to understand as much as you can grasp it. But yet Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita himself that is not easy to understand. Karmano hi api bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi. Would anyone like to read the translation, please? You can unmute yourself and you can read out the translation. This is Bhagavad Gita 4th chapter, verse number 17.
The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is.
So, as I said before, so it becomes very important for us to understand what kind of actions to perform so we get a good result. Or else we have no one else to blame but our ignorance. And ignorance is no excuse. So, with that as a background to this concept of karma, let's take F.A.Qs. So, you might have seen generally in every session I keep an F.A.Q because in the question answer format, the subject matter becomes more easy to understand. And we have divided the subject matter into 6 prominently asked questions. So, I believe most of your questions will be answered through this F.A.Qs. Yet, if you have questions beyond it, we'll have time in the end of the session. You can ask and clarify that. So before we get into the FAQs, my question to all of you is, why at the first place God created the law of karma? What is the need of it? Very, very important to understand why God created the law of karma. I'll give you a simple example, a small story. You'll be able to understand this. In a village, there were 2 farmers. Not 2 farmers, there were several farmers, but they were, farmer friends. They had come together and they were sitting and they were looking at their agricultural land. And they were thinking, oh, our livelihood depends on the crops. And the produce of the crops depends on the rain. And if there is no enough rain, then we cannot have crop. If we don't have sufficient crop, then we'll have to suffer. So the farmers decided, let's call all the farmers together and let's pray to the Lord, please, please give us sufficient rainfall. In fact, give us extra rainfall so we can preserve some water for the future years. And like that, all the farmers went down and they started praying to the Lord, please send us more rainfall, please, please. Similarly, in that village, there were potters, those who make pots. I don't know if the city people knows now, but in those days, we used to have potters. We used to use, a fresh pottery they would make. So the potters, for them, livelihood depends on earth from which they make the pots. But the earth that they require a dry earth, not a wet earth, a wetland or a wet soil. So for them, their businesses, their business would flourish if it does not rain much. I'll again repeat, for the potters, their business would flourish if it does not rain much. So all the potters decided, oh, for our livelihood, for our good, let us all come together and pray to the Lord. Please, please do not send rainfall this year. Let it be dry season so we could be able to make nice pots and sell it off. And now here you have a farmers praying to the Lord. Please send us extra rainfall. You have a potters. No rainfall, no rainfall. Now you tell me, if just to imagine you're in the position of God and the people on the earth are praying to you, please, please send us rain. No, 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 please don't send us rain. What will you do? Who will you favor? If you favor one, then you're called as partial. And if you don't favor other one, you're called as cruel. You see the dichotomy, you see the confusion around the responsibility being a Supreme Father? It's a very, very difficult job. Thus, Lord created the law of karma. And what is the law of karma? Jaisa karma karoge, vaisa phal milega. Do not come and disturb me. I'm not here. I'm not a cosmic bellboy that whenever you need something, you come and you ring, ding, and then I appear before you and you place your order. I am the Supreme Father. So I have created a system in which if you sow a good seed, you'll get a good tree and a good fruit. If you sow a bad seed, you suffer. Don't blame me. So that's the reason law of karma is created. So let's get into the FAQs. The very first FAQ. How does the law of karma works? This is very, very important subject matter. Okay, I hope you are attentive and you're able to hear it properly. So how does the law of karma work? And as I said in the beginning, if you're able to understand this karma concept, you'll be able to harmonize your life with the present situation and you'll be far much more happy and peaceful. Most of our stress and anxiety is because of the unknown. What is the unknown? Unknown of, in the sense we don't know what is happening. There's always a fear of uncertainty. There's always a fear because of doubt. But once you understand this, there is no uncertainty, there is no unknown. Everything is made clear to us. So how does law of karma works? Let's take a look. Who am I? These are my questions to all of you. You can be a little active on the chat box now. You can start writing. So who am I? What's your answer? You can use the chat box to type in your answers. Okay, okay. So at least I'm glad you recognize we are Jivatma, we are soul. We are not so and so by the names that we have been given to this body. Correct. We are soul. And soul is the basis of desires. All desires are produced in the soul. That's our nature. Where am I? Where are you all? What's the answer? In the material world. I'm glad. So I'm just doing a rapid fire round of what all we have discussed in Gita Wisdom. Okay. So yes, we are in the material world. What situation I am in? I am in the material body. What am I bound by? What are you bound by? No, you're not bound by law of karma. No, not desires. What are you bound by? Yes, the three modes of material nature. Hare Krishna. Please understand three modes. You talk now, Sattva Guna, Raja Guna, Tama Guna. This is what three modes binds us. So we are bound by three modes of material nature. Now, what is controlling me? Now this is the question. What is controlling me? Which is the fourth subject matter of Bhagavad Gita. What is controlling me? The modes of nature binds you, but what controls us is Kala. Are you getting it? Ego, Kam, Krodha, secondary. But what controls us? What decides our time of birth? What decides our destruction? You getting it? That's Kala. So if you get these fundamental questions clear, you've understood high-level concepts of Bhagavad Gita. Now, the last question. I hope you get it straight. I've given you the answer in this session today, okay? Who is watching me? 24/7, 365 days a year. Who is watching me? And that is, okay, God, yes, Bhavin is correct. And that is Paramatma, to be precise. Sarvasya chaham hidi sanivishtum madhas smrutignanam apohanam cha. Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, 15th verse. So let's try to see a relationship between all this. Who am I? Is Jiva. What is his relationship? You see these four things: material world, material body, three modes, time. These all are the part of the material creation. And Paramatma is Ishwar. So here you have Jivatma and here you have Prakrti. All these are factors of Prakrti, and you have Ishwar. So question is, what is the relationship between Jiva, Prakrti and Ishwar? So Jiva desires, Prakrti executes, and Paramatma Ishwar sanctions. He is in the role of a judge. So how does the law of karma works? The soul desires, material nature provides facility to the Jivatma to fulfill his desire. No, let's do it this way. The soul desires, and if the judge, Paramatma, sanctions the desire, then material nature provides facility to the soul, to Jivatma, to fulfill the desire. And like that, a person is able to perform his activities. And based on the activities that he performs, the Paramatma judges him for good karma, bad karma, and accordingly he is given a result. Is it making sense? Yes, no? Maybe. Okay, all right. I'll make it more simple. I'll give you a far much more simpler example. Please pay attention to the example if in case you had a little challenge understanding this. So, Ashwini, I'll give you an example. You'll understand this, okay? So, I want all of you to imagine going to a restaurant. In these days, you can only imagine, okay? You cannot go in reality. So, imagine you're going to a restaurant. You sit down on a dining table, and a waiter comes to you and says, what do you want? Sir, what can I serve you? And you say, well, for a starter, I will take lemonade, French fries, and for my main course, I will take masala dosa, aloo paratha and whatnot. And of course, for a dessert, I want to have a strawberry ice cream with an extra sauce of a chocolate on top of it. And the waiter says, yes. He goes away. And order is served to you. You relish, you devour the meal, you devour the food that is served to you. And after that, you get up from your place and you go to the hotel restaurant manager. And the restaurant manager takes a look at your order that you placed. And looking at your order, he gives you a bill. Because you really ate a lot, he gives you a bill of 1,000 rupees. Whereas another person comes to the manager who had only ordered sambar idli. He only ordered sambar idli, and to him, the manager gives a bill of 100 rupees. Now, can you blame the manager for giving you a bill of 1,000 rupees and to giving a bill to that person for 100 rupees? Yes or no? Can you say the manager is partial? What manager is doing? Manager is giving you what you asked for. What you asked, based on that you are billed. Yes? Now, who is this client or customer who went to a restaurant? Who is the waiter and who is the manager in this analogy? So the customer, which means you and I, is a jivatma, soul. The waiter is the material nature. Waiter is the material nature. And judge is the cashier, the restaurant manager. The material nature provides facilities to you according to your desires being sanctioned by the Paramatma, and the kind of activities you perform, the cashier gives you a bill according to it. So if you do a good activity, cashier gives you a good result. In other words, if you eat less, you get a less bill. If you eat much, you get a more bill. Is this analogy clear to all of you? Have you understood how the law of karma functions? As you desire, so shall you get the result of it. We cannot blame anything else. So is with the situation of the COVID virus all around the globe right now. So, Ashwini, are you clear with this point? Because you wanted me to repeat it. Yes, a brilliant question. Why does the Lord sanction wrong desires? I will take this question. But did you understand this concept? So yes, Ankur, Ashwini, I know you all are thinking, why does the Lord sanctions wrong desires? That's a secondary question. We'll come to it. But are you clear so far? How does the law of karma functions? Okay, so there is no point in blaming the manager for giving me 1,000 rupee bill and to other person only 100 rupee bill. It depends on what we ate. That's the point. So FAQ 1 is done. Let's go to FAQ 2. And do remember to ask me the question that you have raised here at the end of the session. So, are there different kinds of karma? Yes. There are different kinds of karmas. Karma means different kind of activities, and Krishna defines in Bhagavad Gita karma to be of three kinds. Vikarma, karma, akarma. Vikarma, which we should not do. On a traffic signal, you get a red signal, which means you should not travel anymore. That's something we should not do. Karma is halfway. I can do it or I should not do it. Karma means the good activities. Akarma is what Krishna says you should do it. It's a green signal, go ahead. So what is the difference between these three? Let's take a look quickly. Vikarma, which refers to as sinful activities. And there are four kinds of sinful activities, and this is the reactions that a person gets for the four sinful reactions. Can anyone guess? What you see in a gray picture is an activity performed, and what you see in a colored picture is a reaction for it in the hellish planets. Can anyone guess what are the four things happening here? Do you see something here? If you're able to make a guess, just a little bit, make it interactive. If not, I'll give you the answer right away. Okay, addicted, fine. Let's take a look at it. And these four sinful activities are meat eating, gambling, illicit relationships, and intoxication. Now, all of you are probably aware of that Asat Sabha or the dice game, the story that comes in Mahabharat, which is part of the Sabha Parva of Mahabharat, where at the end of Sabha Parva, Duryodhan had invited Yudhishthira Maharaj for a dice game, which means a gambling. And later on, as we know, I'm not going into the story of that, but you know how Yudhishthira Maharaj lost his brains. He became so addicted to continue to play that even he put his wife Draupadi on a stake. Was he right or wrong? This we'll discuss when we talk about Mahabharata. Why Yudhishthira Maharaj did this? Again, is a subject matter for Mahabharata. But the point I'm trying to raise here is when they were sent to the forest, as according to the terms and conditions of the gambling match, when they were residing in Kamyaka 1, the Lord Shri Krishna came to meet them. And when Lord Shri Krishna came there, Draupadi was really, really crying to Krishna, why I have to suffer, why it all happened. And that time Krishna spoke about this subject matter of 4 sinful activities. And he told Yudhishthira, you are Dharamraj, you know about the 4 sinful activities, yet you engage in the activities of gambling. Because you did gambling, that's the reason you brought about destruction upon yourself. And the point here is, whoever it is, even as great as Yudhishthira Maharaj, who never ever spoke a lie in his life, was said to be Dharamraj, even if he can engage in any of these 4 activities, destruction is bound to happen. So these 4 activities refers to breaking the 4 pillars of Dharma. And Dharma stands on 4 pillars. Does anyone know what are the 4 pillars of Dharma? What are the 4 pillars of Dharma? Okay, this is the very basics of, to know what is Vedic culture or to know about our own culture. So the 4 basic pillars of Dharma are, you can remember as an acronym. I'll write in the chat group because I don't have it written here. And it is ACT-M. You know, ACT naam ke brand ka popcorn I don't know if it still comes. So it's like this. What is A? A for austerity, C for cleanliness, T for truth, M for mercy. And these are the 4 pillars. Mercy is lost when somebody engages or eats non-vegetarian. Pradeep, previous slide explained other karmas. Okay, you want me to show other karmas? Oh, those we'll talk about in a short while, which is karma, akarma, and vikarma. We'll just talk about it. Just give me a quick second, huh? Hare Krishna. Sorry, I just had to go out and tell another friend of mine to reduce the volume of a speaker. It was too loud and I was getting distracted. Okay, so yes, so these are the 4 things. You might have read the slide by now, so I'll not get into the discussion of it. So Vikarma. So in the previous sessions, we had also discussed about how, meat eating had been allowed in Vedic scriptures. I had given you the details when we were talking about our Vedas mythology. And that's the point mentioned here. Yes, it is allowed, but it is allowed in a very particular condition. And also for those people who cannot live without meat eating. So just to help them raise their consciousness, it is allowed with certain terms and conditions. And that is explained here, which we have discussed before. So I'll skip the slide. So that is about Vikarma. So Vikarma means sinful activities, and that only brings about destruction of ourselves. So yeah, before we go ahead, Vikarma. Let's relate to a COVID virus. What do you think in today's time? Do you believe that these 4 things are happening at a very rampant stage all over the world? As compared to the past, there are open gambling houses in America. In every state, there are gambling houses. Intoxication is totally legal. Now there are live-in relationships. Marriages are not considered so important, where male and female can live with each other without having marriage and so forth, even allowed in India. And meat eating is so much. In fact, India is the biggest beef exporter in the world. Do you agree that there's so much Vikarma is happening? There's so much sinful activities are happening in this world. Why would not there would be natural disasters? Why there would not be a war, famine, and so forth, or epidemics like situations where a mass scale group of people are killed? Why and how it happens we'll describe, but at least you know if there is a sinful activity is being performed, destruction is bound to happen. So that was the point about Vikarma to relate to the COVID case. And to understand that it is all because of past sinful activities of what we are doing today has led to this situation. Of course, be sensitive about it. I'm not saying you have to go and tell people it's your karma, you have to face it. No. But we have to understand the theology also, we have to understand the science of it. So that's about Vikarma. Let's come to the topic of karma now. Karma refers to good activities, which means you act according to Vedic injunctions. And you act according to Vedic injunctions means you're following the laws of the state, laws of the Lord. When you follow the laws of the Lord, you are awarded. You're not punished for it. And that's what karma means. As a result of it, you're promoted and you can go to heavenly planets and so forth. But because it's a karma, you still are forced to live within the material world. When you accrue good pious results, you go to heavenly planets. And when the pious results are exhausted, you have to again come back to the earthly planet to again again start engaging in karmic activities. So Krishna says, karma is better than vikarma, but this is not the best. We all deserve to be the best or do the best. And what is that? That is akarma, which means the activity is same, but you don't get the reactions for it, neither the good or the bad activities. To give an example, Krishna is telling Arjuna to shoot. Now, similarly in Mahabharata, you see Duryodhana on the opposite side is also fighting, and here Arjuna is also fighting. While Duryodhana's fight in the war is said to be Vikarma, because he killed innocent people. However, Arjuna's act of fighting was considered a great act of devotion because he followed what Krishna said. And the point of difference is the activities of Duryodhana or Arjuna in the battlefield are same. They both are fighting. That's what Kshatriya is supposed to do. But Duryodhana's act is considered to be Vikarma and Arjuna's act is considered to be Akarma because Arjuna was not acting according to his own whims or desires. Arjuna was working under the guidance of a higher authority, Krishna. Whereas for Duryodhana, he had no higher authority. He was authority for himself. To give you a simple example, imagine a soldier of Indian army is fighting in the India-Pakistan border. Hare Krishna. Allow me to mute you all. Yes. Imagine our Indian soldier is fighting at the border and he in the fight kills many enemy soldiers. What do you think government will do with him? He would be awarded with a prize. He will be given medals. But now the same soldier comes back to his city or the village or the town, and there he gets into a fight with his neighbor and takes his pistol and shoots him. What do you think government is going to do with the soldier now? Now the soldier would be sent behind the prison bar for the act of killing. Now my question to all of you is, and I'll wait for you all to respond. The soldier did the act of killing against the enemy. He was awarded, and the same soldier performed the same act of killing, but this time with a neighbor. But this time he's sent behind the prison bar. The activities are same. Why the results are different? What's your answer? Regarding Duryodhana, we'll come back to it when we speak about Mahabharata. There are a lot of confusions about it. I just gave you an example to help you understand Akarma and things. So if not Mahabharata example, at least let's talk about the example that I said. Why the soldier is awarded medals when he kills enemies on the on the border, whereas the same soldier is sent to the prison bar because he killed a citizen of the country. Why? Yes, correct. Ashwini is correct because when he is fighting at the border, he is working under the guidance of the government of India. While when he fought with his neighbor, there was no authority. He took the law in his hand and he killed that person. That's the reason he's punished. So, in other words, what is akarma in simple language? When we dovetail all our activities according to what Krishna says or according for the pleasure of the Lord, that becomes akarma. When we perform all our activities for the pleasure of the Lord, just like Arjuna performed the activity of fighting the war for the pleasure of the Lord because Lord wanted him to do it, that becomes the highest devotional activity, that becomes a karma. And Krishna says the definition of a karma in Bhagavad Gita 9 chapter 27 verse. Yad karoshi yad ashnashi yad juhosi dadasi yad tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurashvamad arpanam. Somebody else would like to read the translation, please? What is the meaning of this verse? This is the 9th chapter, 27th verse. You may unmute yourself and read out, please.
Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me.
Hari Darshan, happy to see you. You're attending the session. Interesting. Okay. Anyways, good. So that's about karma, vikarma. Okay. So what are the different kinds of karma? I guess Pradeep was asking for this slide. So here it is put up here for you. कर्मा जो आप शास्त्र के अनुसार एक्टिविटीज करते हो but you want to enjoy the results. Vikarma, no authority, breaking all the laws and performing simple activity. Akarma, doing everything for the pleasure of the Lord, under the direction of the Lord or the authority appointed by the Lord. That means scriptures or Guru Sadhu Shastra, like that. So I hope these different kinds of karma are clear. Let's go to question number 3 now. What is the duration of results of karma? If I perform an act, do I get a result right away or do I get a result in my next life? What is the duration? And the karma is said to be, based on duration is said to be of 2. One is called as instant karma. Second is called as delayed karma. Instant karma is like a ATM. You put a card and withdraw money. And delayed karma is like a check. You write it and you can encash it after a day or 2. Which means for certain activities, just like you slap somebody, you probably would get a reaction to it immediately. For some activities, like where, let's say somebody commits a stealing or a murder or whatnot, and the case goes to the court, and then slowly the investigation goes on, and maybe after some years, and hopefully in this lifetime, the court will be able to pass a judgment, and that is called as delayed karma. That's the point about it. Okay, so it depends on the kind of activity, and of course we are not the one who chooses the reaction. What it implies it, we don't know what we have done in the past, but those activities, for some of the activities of the previous lifetimes, we may be getting a delayed karma right now. Okay, that's very much possible. Now the law of karma works on whom? And this is in relation to COVID virus again. Very important point. To whom all does law of karma works? So law of karma, Hare Krishna. Law of karma can be seen in the 3 aspects. First, individual karma, where a person, either the good or the bad activities, he gets a reaction, he suffers or he enjoys. Nobody else is affected by it. That's called as individual karma. First aspect of it. Second is called as collective karma, which is what I would refer to the COVID virus. A collective karma in which a group of people who deserve the similar kind of punishment are brought together, and a natural disaster or maybe a plane crash or maybe a tsunami happens, because of which many people die, which itself means is a result of a collective karma. All these people actually was supposed to face this consequence in a certain manner. So that is called a collective karma. And the third is called as shared karma, something important, huh? Which means, let's say on a family level, if somebody's father or a husband is sent to a prison for some activity of his, would the family members suffer? Yes. There will be a social stigma. The so-and-so father and the husband or the brother or sister or the son has been put behind the bar. So people, would stigmatize a family. And secondly, we all suffer because of one of the family members not with us anymore. So that's a shared karma. If anyone within our family does anything wrong, we also get a reaction. Similarly, if your father purchases a car, everyone enjoys it. National karma. National karma refers to, again, it's related to a collective karma where the nation goes to a war. When nation goes to a war, everyone suffers. There is an economic crisis, there's a loss of life and whatnot. So that is part of being part of a, shared karma as being part of a particular nation. And lastly is leader. If a leader is not good, scripture says the king gets the 1/6 karma of the citizens. And similarly, the citizens gets the karma of the king. For example, if you have a leader who is very corrupt, we all know how much suffering we all going to undergo. And if you have a great leader, then we know that he will protect us from all the crises. So that's how the karmas are related in terms of individual, collective, and shared karma. And we're coming to the last two F.A.Qs. The fifth F.A.Q, very important, which people often say is, I don't know. If I don't know the law of karma, still karma works? Now, because you've taught me about karma, so which means I have to become careful. It means ignorance is bliss. Wish I had never known about the karma. I would not have suffered the reaction. My dear friend, it never happens like this. You know or not, but the karma is always going to act. To give you an example, I was traveling in a bus. That was my first ever ride, alone, traveling in a bus, probably in the 10th or 11th standard. And I wasn't aware because I had never traveled by myself in a bus, and I didn't know you have to purchase a ticket. Because if I ever have traveled before, was with my father, and I never bothered what he did with the ticket or not. And today, this time, I decided not to purchase a ticket or didn't bother to go to a TC who was sitting in his place. And in the next stop, some of the ticket collectors got into the bus and they started asking people to show the ticket. And whoever didn't have a ticket, they're fine. And they came to me. And they said, show me a ticket. I said, well, I don't have a ticket. He said, okay, you have to pay a fine. I said, how can I pay a fine? Nobody told me to purchase a ticket. And he said, are you a fool? You are sitting in a bus and you don't know what are the rules of the bus? Ignorance is not an excuse. You're supposed to pay a fine. And I was fined. Now, I may think this is so cruel of that TC. Why did he ask me? Can't he give me a second chance? When I told him, why don't you give me a second chance? And he taught me a very important lesson. And he said, my dear child, if I excuse you this time, you may not purchase a ticket next time, which means you may commit the mistake or may not commit the mistake. But if I fine you, you will never ever commit the mistake again because you'll be scared. Similarly, Lord, when we do mistakes, like a loving mother may slap us, but the slap is not an act of cruelty. When mother slaps the child, is out of her affection for the child so that the child does not commit the same mistake again. So when we face reversals in our life, we should not blame the Lord. We should try to understand, I need to change my lifestyle. I need to change certain things around my life so that the Lord, who's trying to give us a signal that you're going in a wrong direction, so I reform myself. So punishment is not an act of cruelty. In fact, the punishment is a gesture of love as a warning given to the child by the mother that don't act like this or else you will have a far greater suffering in the future. And that's how the law of karma is designed by the Lord to warn us. Imagine if the law of karma is not there, what would have happened? Let me ask this question to all of you. Imagine if law of karma was never there acting in this world. What would be the situation of this world today? Any thoughts? What do you think? What would have happened? Chaos. I'll tell you only yes. Sonam makes it coming to the exact word. There would be an unimaginable amount of criminal activities because there is nobody to restrict anyone. And because of that, we would have been just suffering. That's the reason law of karma is there, so that when we are punished, we can ask and inquire, why am I suffering? And then we can ask about who is Lord. And then we can understand that we are in a wrong place. We are like a fish out of water, and we belong to a spiritual world. And that's the message of this law of karma. So don't take law of karma as a whipping stick. Take law of karma as a hand of grace of the Lord to help us guide us back to spiritual world. So that's about the fifth. Question number 6. Does good and bad karma nullify each other? Oh, I did some wrong activities in the past. So now can I do some yajna? Can I do some charity and nullify my past bad activities? Sorry, that's not how the law of karma functions. 7 minus 4 is equal to 3 according to our mathematics. But according to law of karma, the law of karma reads 7 as separate pious activities and minus 4 as a separate sinful activities. And for those, we will enjoy 7 good reactions and suffer 4 bad reactions separately. So now, the most important question for which all of you probably waited for several weeks, and that makes the last question of our today's presentation, F.A.Q. Why do bad things happen to good people? Example is given of a silo. You know, in our villages, we used to have a silo or a tank where when you collect the grains, you will feed into the silo, and after a while, you will take it at the bottom. So imagine in the very first year, you fill the silo with a poor quality grain. In the second year, a little better quality, and third year, the best quality grain. And now today, after 3 years, you go to take grains from the silo. What quality of grains the silo will come out? The first grains that you put into the silo, that is going to come out, first in, first out. And imagine you have a child standing next to you who saw you just a week before putting in the best quality of grain. He would look at you and say, my dear father, I just saw you last week putting the best quality of grains in the silo. Why today such a poor quality of grains are coming? Why silo is doing like this to us? Is silo is partial? Well, silo is not partial. What we sow, so shall we reap. Because what we had sowed 3 years ago is what we are reaping today. But why the child is confused? The father is not confused. The child is confused because he does not know what his father had done 3 years ago. But the father knows, and he understands how the silo functions. And he knows because 3 years ago I had put a bad grain, that's the reason I'm getting it. So father is not bewildered, but the child is bewildered. So the point is, once we don't understand the subject matters of Bhagavad Gita, we just live our life with bewilderment, confusion, stress, anxiety, and are always in a constant fear of unknown. Why? Because we don't know the laws of the nature, the laws of the Lord. We don't know who we are and who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if you understand what we've discussed in this 5 sessions or the 5 topics of Gita wisdom, you will find yourself in a far better position in a situation, and you'll be able to harmonize the apparent contradictions. With that, these are the F.A.Qs on the law of karma that we have discussed, and we come to the concluding slide now. What should we do now? You have understood the most profound wisdom in this creation, the 5 most important subject matters of Bhagavad Gita and of all Vedic texts. So what we need to do now is to make a decision. Human life is compared to a train junction. What is a train junction? A train junction is a place where we make a choice to go to Meerut, to go to Delhi, to go to Haridwar, to go to Allahabad. That's a junction where the trains goes to multiple destinations. Now, for a person to travel, what does he require? For a person to travel, what does he need? He needs a ticket. Correct. He needs a ticket. What else? He needs a desire and ticket. Yes, desire and ticket, more or less same thing. What else does he need? Do you only need a ticket to go somewhere? Yes, you need to know the destination. Yes, correct. Thank you. So first we need a desire to travel, which means the ticket. And second, we need not the desire to travel, which means we have to have a desire to travel. That's not a ticket. And second point, we should be able to purchase the ticket, which means the karmic account. And of course, the third thing, which I have not mentioned here, is to be aware of the destination where we're supposed to travel. So human life is said to be a junction where we have the opportunity to make a decision to continue living within this 14 planetary worlds, within this universe, material universe, keep hopping to the heavenly planets, to the lower planets, to the earthly planets, or else come out of this cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease and go back to the spiritual world. And it all begins with a desire. The kind of desires we cultivate, accordingly our destination gets decided, or we choose the destination, and based on activities that we perform. If you perform Akarma, which means if you perform your activities for the pleasure of the Lord under the direction of Guru Sadhu Shastra, then you qualify yourself to purchase a ticket to go back to Godhead. That's the reason it is said, life is a preparation and death is an examination. Whatever we have done during the lifetime would be judged or would be decided at the time of death. Where do we end up in our next life? With that, to conclude our session, this knowledge is a very, very important wisdom or the knowledge that we received, which helps us to harmonize the conflicting situations and gives us answers to the perennial questions that people have from the beginning of the time, like who am I, who is Lord, why there are so many religions, why there are different scriptures, why bad things happen to good people, what happens after death, and so forth. And all these have been answered through the 5 subject matters of Bhagavad Gita. And with that, we conclude the subject matter of why do bad things happen to good people, where we studied about 3 subjects, Prakrti, Kala, and Karma. And what do we do next? Is we're going to have a session for you all, a special additional session. And that is yoga for modern age. Now, what is this session is all about? If you see in this 5 topics, you've only got knowledge. You've only got jnana. But jnana or the knowledge is not sufficient to change our life. How? You know, the smoker, he also knows the smoking is injurious to health, but he's not able to change his life. He's not able to give up smoking. Yes, agreed upon it? So knowledge is there, but knowledge is itself is not sufficient. We need a process where and through which we can apply the knowledge and bring about a transformation. And that process of bringing about a transformation is called as yoga, which means to connect with the Lord. So tomorrow we'll discuss about this topic, yoga for modern age. And with that, we'll conclude our Gita Wisdom series. And if you all would like, next weekend we'll begin discussion on Mahabharata from all the 18 parvas. I'll go in a sequence from each parva after each parva, and we'll discuss controversies around those particular parvas or the incidents that happened. So we hope you'll be able to join. And with that, we conclude our Gita Wisdom series as such. And thank you all for attending these sessions for the last several weeks. Extremely grateful to you all for being with us for all these weekends. Hare Krishna.